All right, last week down in Florida, I appeared on the PBD Podcast hosted by Patrick Bet-David. Wide-ranging conversation. Have received hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of comments about it. We're going to show you the whole conversation here. Here's my thought now that it's been, a week since the appearance. I think it was a fine experience. I did in the moment struggle with the kind of straw manning and misstatement of the things that I was saying, or really things that I was not saying. But I also think it was useful to expose that these are techniques which it doesn't even mean that Patrick was doing it deliberately. You really can shut down a conversation by just rapidly changing topics, misstating what your guest is saying, and sort of like just bogging down the conversation. That being said, I do think I could have been better prepared to try to retake control of some of those discussions. The entire thing around taxation, I should have had a way to refocus the conversation in terms that made more sense, rather than just kind of like continue this bizarre jumping around stream of consciousness that we did on some of the issues of like international opinion about the United States. It got so muddled that the conversation became meaningless and we went around in circles. So I think I have a lot to learn from the appearance, but I think it was very much worth doing. Let's check it out. Let me know your thoughts in a comment after you watch it.
30 seconds. Did you ever think you would make it? I feel I'm so close, I could taste sweet victory. I know this life meant for me. Yeah, why would you bet on Goliath when we got Bet David? Valuetainment, giving values contagious. This world of entrepreneurs, we get no value to hate it. How they run, homie, look what I become. I'm the one.
We'll figure it out.
Yeah. By the end of the show.
Yeah, I think we'll figure it out by the end of the show.
2 hours.
All right, so special podcast today. We were hoping to do it in March, but we couldn't. But we're able to make it work today. And a lot of people online would say, Pat, you got to get him on, Pat. You got to get him on. It'd be great. Be a great conversation. Finally, we make it work. Newly a father of 7 months, which is congratulations to you.
Thank you.
It's great to have David Pakman on the podcast today.
It's so great to be here. I'm shocked people wanted me here.
They really did, though. I mean, you were getting tagged left and right. I said, I got to get this guy. So
I love it.
We were talking on Twitter. And
yeah.
Anyways, we were able to make it work. So how's everything? How you doing?
Everything's good.
Good?
Yeah.
How's it feel being a father?
It's weird. It's like completely different and kind of everything's the same.
Yeah.
It's weird.
And
Biggest shock, meaning like, oh, I didn't expect this.
I thought maybe like 2 or 3 diapers would be enough for a few months. You need way more than 2 or 3.
Rookie move, bro.
So what's most expensive cost that you're feeling?
Well, the most expensive one was the night nurses at the beginning. Because as you know, my audience knows, my girlfriend ended up back in the hospital after the delivery, and it was me at 2 weeks. And so I was like, we need night nurses, and night nurses, are not the cheapest thing.
Wow.
So that was so after that, I'm like, oh, diapers, this is great. Diapers is cheap. Yeah.
Night nurses.
Yeah.
That's pretty epic.
Yeah.
Wait till they turn 1 and you find out how much eggs are going to cost. It's going to be catastrophic. So hang in there. It's coming.
Well, she's already on eggs, so it's, yeah.
By the way, public PSA, I'm also looking for some night nurses out there. I don't have any kids, but if some night nurses just want to come
you
in.
best bite your tongue if you're saying you're looking for night
just want
nurses.
to come in and take care of some things throughout the night, just nurse me down.
His interpretation of night nurses are very different than David. David is not in the adult entertainment business. David is not like in, a player. He's just saying somebody that was helping him with the kids.
These are medical professionals.
Yes, exactly. That's a better way of putting it.
That's all I'm looking for as well here, gentlemen. Some mouth-to-mouth.
All right, stop it. Let's go. Okay, so David, for the people that don't know, if you can take a quick moment and just kind of give them your background. You got a massive YouTube channel. You got billions of views online. You've done great work. And then maybe share with them what your philosophies are, what you believe in, and we'll get started.
So my 30-second backstory, born in Argentina, family moved to the U.S., immigrant, learned the language, public school, et cetera, all of that different stuff. Interested in media, interested in politics. In Argentina, politics is like everything. Everybody's always talking about politics. I'm sure, in your background, it's similar. And eventually started this community radio show podcast when I was doing undergrad. Had the fortune that I could just kind of try making it a job while a lot of my, classmates ended up having to get real jobs that were not very good. And it worked, fortunately. I think it was a combination of timing and the opportunity and the fact that I had a situation where I could just, let's see if this thing works and I can avoid having to get a real job. And then it combined with when YouTube was blowing up and podcasting and all these things. So my show is it's a left-wing, progressive, call it, whatever you want, sort of podcast. And I'm sure we'll get into my philosophy more specifically. But that's the space I occupy. And we talk news and politics, do interviews. I've done over 1,500 interviews on the show. And that's the thing now. We're multi-platform, YouTube, Facebook, Twitch, podcasts, etc.
So look, my biggest challenge with you is I think you go a little overboard when it comes onto supporting Trump, and I think it's inappropriate.
I know, yeah.
Honestly, like it's a little too much. Like seriously, I know people who are MAGA people who love him, but you
not like
dude,
me.
you
I know.
up your game.
Yeah.
How did your infatuation with Trump get started?
I just think his hair and his physical prowess and strength is so incredible. His golf game is unbelievable.
Epic. Yeah.
And I consider golf a proxy towards basically everything in life. If you're a good golfer the way Trump is, then you're good at everything, really. I mean, that's
the best, some might say.
But by the way, do you miss him? Be honest. Do you miss him?
So there's...
And a crazy question for you, just a crazy question for you. Like for me, you know how CNN ratings just came out, and ratings, I don't know what the numbers was. We'll get into it here in a minute. Worse in 9 years. I don't know what the numbers were, but if you can pull up the article, worse in 9 years, right? So do you think like you sit there and you say, like for comedy, like comedians, a great comedian maybe can make fun of everybody.
Yep.
Okay. Schultz, he can do anybody. Chappelle can do anybody. Rogan, these guys can do anybody, right? But sometimes like the market needs a good president to make fun of.
Yeah.
Right? So, there's a lot you can do with Biden, but there's a lot more you can do with Trump.
Oh, absolutely. Right? And he's so funny in spite of himself.
Yeah.
And sometimes he'll say one thing, like he'll call, the CEO of Lockheed, Marilyn Lockheed, but that's not her name. Her last name is not the name of the company. That's funny in the moment. But Tim Apple, right. But there's these arcs.
I said Tim Cook. You pretty much said Tim Apple.
There's this arc, like for example, where Trump weirdly gets obsessed with toilets during his 2020 campaign. I don't know if you guys remember this, but he would go to rallies and he would go, and they're turning down the flow on my toilets. You're going to have to flush toilets 10 to 15 times. And I'm thinking, what is Trump doing with a toilet where you need 10 flushes, right? It's weird, but that's just the first piece.
Love it, though.
So then,
gotta love those toilets.
On election night, when he talks about how he really won, which he lost, by the way, he says there were massive dumps in the middle of the night, and you're like. 15 flushes, massive dumps, and then later,
good for you. That was good.
Later, you find out he was flushing documents down the toilet. So you're like, going back a year, that's
funny.
the reason the toilet. He was so concerned about toilets. He's flushing documents
himself.
Down. It's a huge story.
So how do you handle the whole? But even for yourself as a content creator, do you miss him as a content? Like, would you? Selfishly, forget about politically. Of course, you don't want him. You would have probably had Bernie over Biden. I would assume maybe somebody else. Who would have been your guy if you had your choice?
Yeah, I mean, I think Bernie is the closest when you look at policy to me, but I've been very critical of the way Bernie runs his campaign. Bernie talks about he's a socialist. I'm not a socialist, and I don't actually think Bernie ran on a socialist platform, but we can get to that.
Interesting.
But I've said to my audience, Trump was great for shows like mine. There's no question about it, right? Like speaking, if I was voting not for what I think is best for the country, but what's best for me financially, of course Trump was a gold mine. There's no question about it.
So who did you want? Like if you were to say, like today, you have your choice on who can be the president, who would you like?
It's the reason I'm going to answer the question, but the reason that it's a hard question to answer in that way is there's policy and there's who could win, who would be good at governing, who understands how to make compromise and sort of how politics is done. Mm-hmm. So I think there's a ton of really interesting people that do well in all of these areas, and I'll give you a few names. And this is now for my audience because if what I'm about to say, they'll say you're just the insult in my space is you're a lib, meaning I'm not progressive, enough. I'm not left enough. Yeah. Right? Okay. I think folks like it's crazy out there.
Lib.
Yeah. I think the people that are striking the right balance right now between policy and rhetoric and ability to actually be good politicians are people like, and this is going to be crazy, okay, Gavin Newsom, Pete Buttigieg, Stacey Abrams, Katie Porter in California. I think these are really interesting folks who I don't necessarily agree with them on all policy, but I think they bring a few things that are important. They're younger, Right now, I think there's a problem where it's sort of like old guy after old guy after old guy on both sides. We're seeing this to a degree, so I like that. I think they bring some progressive policies that are interesting without really being brandable as being socialists. And I think that that's all really important right now for the left.
So what do you like about? So okay, so let's stay with who we currently have right now. So today, Biden.
Yeah.
What's he doing good? What do you think he's not doing good?
Okay, so if I were to say here are the things that Biden got done that are accomplishments that are important and things that are worth doing. At a time where I think it was necessary, he did that third COVID stimulus. Remember, Trump did two of them and Biden did a third one. I think at the time it made sense, and he didn't include as much of this, or really any, if I recall, the PPP slush fund, which was so fraudulently used, and now the IRS is backed up on audits in part because they're doing PPP fraud investigation. So I like that he didn't include that. I didn't think that was necessary. Inflation Reduction Act does a lot of interesting things, and whether or not it, quote, reduces inflation is coming down now several months in a row. I love the renewable energy stuff that's in there. I drive an electric car. I've got the solar panels. I've got, my gas stove I'm even going to get rid of. I'm ready to get rid of the gas
being
stove.
sarcastic
I'm being
or
dead
serious?
serious. No, yeah, I had.
You're fully committed.
It's not a commitment. It's the induction is unbelievable. Once you actually learn to use it, it's fantastic. I was repeating, the gas stove, you can modulate down to it's beautiful. I've now cooked with induction. It's fantastic. So I think it's fantastic. I think encouraging that, we're not banning gas stoves, of course, I'm exaggerating. I think that's really great. I think getting out of Afghanistan, I think, was the absolute right decision. Many criticisms of the chaos that unfolded. When Trump was asked, how would you have done it differently? He didn't actually have any answer. It was Trump's plan to get out that Biden did a few months later because Trump never got to it for whatever reason. I think that was the right decision. It was going nowhere, 20 years there, et cetera. On student loan forgiveness, I don't know what's going to happen eventually. I'm not a forgive all student loans guy. Some in my audience are like, David, all loans should be forgiven. It's like, no, I don't think so. I don't think that makes sense. But we've had programs like if you're a doctor and you work in an underserved community long enough, you qualify to get those loans forgiven. I think certain programs like that make a lot of sense. So I think that's a good thing. And quite frankly, and this is where, the Trump people email me and they get very mad. If this, not my opinion, if we go by Gallup opinion survey, what other countries think of the U.S., opinion of the U.S. has dramatically improved since Biden replaced Trump. I think that matters. I'm not an isolationist, so I think it's important that other countries respect the office of the presidency. And under Trump, it was a joke, literally laughed at the UN, goes to India, mispronounces 10 Indian names, and the crowd is just leaving. It was a humiliation everywhere he went. So I think that's it's like a soft thing that I think is really good.
So the fact that we're no longer feared is a good thing.
I don't know where you're getting that we are no longer feared.
So you think people fear Biden?
What I'm asking you is what data do you have that we are no longer feared?
Well, that's what data is not any data to give. I mean,
then how do you know it is?
Well, no, but during Biden is when Russia felt comfortable bullying Ukraine. During Biden is even if you look at Afghanistan on the way we left, people on the left were not happy by the way we left Afghanistan.
Which people?
Even 82 billion. I can give you a lot of different names.
Like who?
CIA. Who was a CIA guy that we had here who was on
Philip Mudd
with a Z? What's his name?
Matt Zeller.
Matt Zeller, CIA agent who was on MSNBC. He called him out. He was on MSNBC with.
But that's one person, right?
No, but there's a lot of them though. If I actually
yeah.
pull it up and if I do the Google search on it, I'll find plenty of names from their own side.
Let's do it. That's fine. But I think one important thing to back up is you first kind of gave me what's not really a very fair question. You go, are you not worried that the U.S. is no longer feared?
So you're saying they don't fear you?
Hold on. Let me finish my response. Okay. Yeah. You first presented to me, and these are a lot of conversations go like this. You present to me, is it not a concern to me that the U.S. is no longer feared? And I said, well, where are you getting that? Where's the data? You go, there is no data. So let's first start with.
What I said is it's not the fear. I didn't say there's no data. You can't pull data, meaning you can't find data on fear.
Then how do you know that's
fear
the
is
case?
action? Fear is action. Did during Trump Russia attack Ukraine?
No, that's not. Yeah.
What happened with Palestine and Israel?
what happened? Or what
Yeah,
didn't
what happened?
happen?
They came together after 20-some years.
What?
What are you talking about when you say
What are you talking about? Hold on
Well,
a
he
second.
moved the capital to Jerusalem, is what you're saying.
So let's
I don't
talk
know if
about
there's
that.
been peace
Let's
in the
talk
Middle
about-
East or anything like that.
Has there been any progress on peace?
Very limited.
Did moving it wasn't the capital. Did moving the embassy?
The embassy,
Hold on a
correct,
second. Let me ask the question. Did moving the embassy from Tel Aviv to Jerusalem get us closer to peace, or did it get us further away? Do either of you guys know? I don't know if you've studied this issue.
There's arguments on both ends, but it has not led to peace and prosperity in Palestine, correct?
Did Trump promise, this is a very critical, clear question. Did Trump promise that Jared Kushner would solve the Israeli-Palestinian conflict during the first term? Now,
That's
just a
overreach.
yes, no. Did he
overreach.
promise it?
I don't know if he promised it or promises made, promises kept. He was assigned to that duty.
And did it happen?
What happened?
Did Jared negotiate
No,
peace?
but I don't think anybody believed that peace was happening in
So
the Middle
it's
East.
okay for him to make promises that are obvious lies?
But make the argument. Go back to the argument about the fact that America, on all polls today, is, would you say, liked? What was the word you used?
So I think the really important thing when we talk about this is we talk about what we can measure. So the Gallup polling that has been done.
So you trust polls?
Oh, come on.
So but that's where we're going, though.
There are lots of different.
I trust certain polls too, but I'm saying, so you trust polls?
If you say, do I trust a Rasmussen Republican primary poll 18 months before an election, I would say that's not very valuable. I don't think that's valuable. The Gallup public opinion sentiment poll that has been done over many, many presidents in the same way, I think that that's a pretty good poll just to give a sense of how the world feels about the American president. I have no reason to distrust that. There are other polls where I would have a specific reason to distrust. But we're kind of going like 10 tangents here. I think if we want to talk about, am I upset that the U.S. isn't feared, since you brought that question forward, the appropriate thing would be for you to give me the data.
But no, go back to what you said. You said U.S. is what? You said you like the fact that U.S. is liked more today under Biden?
No, I didn't use that term.
What was the term you used, if you don't mind saying it again?
On average, countries respect the U.S. more now that Biden is president and Trump
you
is
value that.
I think it's important because
Okay.
can I tell you why?
Sure.
I think it's important because between trade and globalization and problems we deal with that don't respect the borders of countries, it's important to be, again, it's not about liked, it's not about, it's to be respected globally. I do think that actually matters.
So why do you think they didn't like or respect Trump? Let's see what you're going to say with that. Why do you think? Tell me.
The guy's a joke.
He is.
Yeah.
Okay. Tell us why. And Biden's not a joke.
Well,
You're
we can talk about Biden.
Oh, because Biden's like the GOAT and, and Trump's the joke.
No.
Okay, so
I'm critical
tell us
of
why
Biden,
he's a joke.
But I think it's important to say, are we talking about Trump or are we talking about Biden? We can talk about both,
identify
but let's
both.
talk about them one at a time.
Stay on Trump.
Okay,
Stay on Trump
fair.
when he says he's a joke. Tell us why you think he's a joke.
Promises made that were not kept that he told us he was going to achieve for us. Let's look at some of them. I'm going to get rid of Obamacare and replace it with, his word, a beautiful replacement where everyone will have care and it's going to be affordable. Okay. Just flat out didn't happen. The one proposal that Republicans made would have led to 24 to 32 million people losing health care. I consider that a failure. I don't think Obamacare is perfect, but it's better than the thing Trump said he was going to bring us. That was just a failure. 2, build a wall across the entire U.S.-Mexico border, which Mexico is going to pay for. It's not even worth having a conversation. I mean, just a joke. Of course, completely didn't happen. Solve the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. No progress made. In fact, to be honest, and this is, if we want to delve into that, moving the embassy from Tel Aviv to Jerusalem got us further from that because it's seen as a sort of a taunting measure if you understand the internal politics of what's going on there. Was going to, made some space travel promises. I mean, I can't think of promises he made that he did keep other than, I guess he was going to do tax reform and he did tax reform. So as a policy matter, a complete and total failure. I do think maybe the First Step Act on criminal justice reform did some good things. I'm sort of glad to give him credit on that. But so, on policy, failure. And then, on rhetoric, we could spend 3 hours just looking at quotes.
So I'm curious to see exactly how you think now. So
Yeah.
If COVID doesn't happen, does he get reelected?
Yes.
Why?
Well, because his followers don't care about policy. I interview them all the time, and I say
His followers don't care about policy.
they don't care about achievements. They care about Hillary bad, Hillary Marxist, Hillary socialist.
You think Hillary's good?
Did I say that?
No, I'm asking you.
Oh no, I don't think Hillary was a good candidate, and she's to my right. No, I don't think Hillary's good, but I thought she was better than Trump.
She's to your right.
She's to my right. Yeah, Hillary
So
is
she'd
a
be
very
a moderate conservative Democrat.
yeah.
In your world.
Yeah.
Got it.
I mean, give me a left-wing Hillary policy, like a really left-wing Hillary policy.
I couldn't tell you, but that's
Exactly. There is none.
But it's not the point. But you're saying you would much rather have a Hillary than a Trump.
I would rather.
Okay, so go back to
Much rather, I don't know.
So go back to he gets reelected. Why? Because his voters could care less about policies.
They
That's what you're
couldn't
saying.
care less.
Fine, no problem. So, but we both know that it's not the right that elects him, and it's not the left that elects whoever on the left. It's whoever's in the middle,
Not true.
the 8 to 12% that kind of says, you know what, I'm going to go this side, this time around, or versus more people come out for their candidate, meaning a lot
Not
of people
really
would
true.
come out for Obama. Okay, so explain yourself.
What it actually more depends on is who chooses to go out and vote. It's less about there's often this idea in politics, and there's lots of people who are really good on this issue that you could talk to. Rachel Bidikofer and even Frank Luntz, even though he's partisan, I think he would concede this as well. He's on the right.
Pollster, you mean?
Yes.
Frank Luntz, yeah.
The idea of the swing independent voter that sometimes on presidential elections will vote for a Republican and sometimes a Democrat, very, very small percentage of people. More common is that a candidate either activates people to vote or those same people just stay home. In the US, we have an embarrassingly low voter turnout. It's between usually 52 and 60%, I think. So almost half the electorate isn't even voting. It's less about people who vote one way and then another way. It's more about people who say, I'm just going to stay home versus I'm going to go out and vote. If they vote, it's clear.
So you're saying that the middle voter doesn't matter at all?
No, I didn't say that.
So what are you saying then?
I said they matter much less than who is partisan chooses to vote.
But
or
it's
to stay
fair
home.
to say that, okay, if he continues and there's no COVID, he would get reelected. Do you think let's specifically target the middle? Forget the people on the side that would show up. Okay?
Well, but why? That's
the question I want to do with you right now. So if we specifically focus on the middle, the independent, the libertarians, would they have chosen to stick with Trump, or would most have wanted to replace him with somebody else?
It's a polling question. I don't have the data.
Well, you're the poll guy, so I'm asking you.
I don't have the data in front of me.
Okay, I'd be curious to know. So but you're also correcting me to say that's not true. That's the middle and the independents that didn't elect him. You're saying it's who showed up that elected him.
As a general concept,
Right.
elections swing less based on independents who sometimes vote Republican and Democrat. That's a small factor. A bigger factor is, are voters activated by their candidate, or are they deactivated where they go, I don't like this person, but I'm definitely not voting for that one. I'll stay home.
Isn't it a bit of both, though?
It's a bit of both.
Because
but what
we
I'm
all
saying is
saw
it's
what
more
happened in
one
the
than
Rust
other.
Belt. We've seen countless stories about, I voted for Obama. I'm not racist. I voted for Obama. What are you talking about? I voted for Bush, then I voted for Obama, and then Trump showed up. He made some promises. He was in the Midwest. He was out there. He was reaching out, touching hands. Hillary was too busy in New Mexico and Arizona. I decided to vote for Trump. I was sort of done with Trump. Now I'm back on Biden.
Yeah,
we see so many stories like that, though, these independents.
That's an anecdote. And so I think anecdotes are fine. But one of the things that is important is to zoom out from anecdotes and to look at the broader data. And the other thing that's important is a lot of that cross-voting, it cancels each other out because you see roughly the same amount from one side versus the other. And what I mean by that is there was, if you look at the crossover in 2016, the number of Democrats who decided to vote Trump in 2016 was very similar to the number of Democrats who decided to vote McCain in 2008. So it's a roughly predictable number.
You're talking about Democrats who have switched over. I'm talking about just there's legitimate independents.
I'm giving you just one example. example of this people who go either way or whatever. It's relatively stable and predictable, so it's rarely a difference maker. That's my only point. And we can anecdotes all day. You know, Jim Bob's wife decided to vote Hillary or what. You know, that's totally fine.
But let's do data because you're a data guy.
Yeah.
So if you're a data guy, tell us when you're saying it's not necessarily that the middle one would have had Trump.
Yeah.
Would he have needed the middle to get reelected in 2024, in 2020?
He would have needed roughly the same percentage that
Okay.
Republicans tend to need. Trump suffered because on the COVID thing, would he have gotten reelected? It's not only if COVID didn't happen, Trump probably would have gotten reelected. I think if when COVID started, instead of Trump saying, we have 15 cases, soon going to be 0, do flu vaccines work on COVID? What about bleach injections? All that stuff. If instead of that, Trump said, hey, you know what? We're the United States. We're going to deal with this better than anybody else. We're making MAGA masks. And by the way, 50 cents on every dollar will go, you know, his normal fundraising scams, right? Do the scams, but do the MAGA masks. And if he said, we're going to be absolutely the best on this thing, he wins. We saw it in New Zealand. We saw it in other places. It was a missed opportunity. Now, I think it was just a miscalculation in the sense that somewhere Trump probably thought it was really going to go away. I don't know
By
who was
Easter.
around him. I don't
By
know
Easter.
by Easter of 2020, right? I mean,
Right.
okay. So I think Trump, even if he had just done that, and because we
But
saw,
why though? Why would he have? Why would the independents, the ones in the middle, who are, let's just say, slightly more reasonable, and they're willing to say, you know, I don't like this guy on the left, I'm going to vote right. I don't like this guy on the right, I'm going to vote left.
Yeah.
Why would they have still chosen Trump over Biden?
we're now. I have no idea. You'd have to talk to them.
Well,
We'd have to, I just don't know.
But you're given your arguments, and so your arguments you're given is you're talking about polls like Biden because America's more respected under Biden than Trump. Okay, so
and that
that's,
has nothing to do with American voters. We're talking about people in other countries.
But totally get it. But when you say something like that, the
Yes.
voter says, "Oh wow, the world respects Biden more than they respect Trump."
Sure.
Okay. Somebody may say, well, maybe because, you know, anybody who was an enemy of America hated Trump because Trump would, you know, deal more directly with them than Biden would. Biden, you can't necessarily see him. You know, he doesn't look like a leader. He's not an Obama-esque. He's not a Clinton guy. Biden doesn't come across as a strong leader. But you're saying he's more respected than Trump. Great, no problem.
Okay.
So then I go and I ask you a question and I say, if COVID doesn't happen, does he get reelected? Yes. Why? You say because more people show up. This whole narrative about the fact that you need the middle voter to tip them, that's not true. It's how many people show up, and it's his people because his people don't care if he gets anything done. And that's what you said. That was your narrative, right?
Yeah,
That's
I mean,
what you said. Those were your words.
Some of those
Activated.
words mirror the things that I said. Yes.
Okay, so it activates, which means so Trump's voters. So give me, when you say I speak to a lot of these Trump voters, there's obviously a lot of animosity in you. You have a lot of resentment or animosity towards them. I don't know why, but you seem
As
angry and
individuals?
upset towards Trump. I mean, your
Oh.
comments like, you know, towards Trump is boom, you know, voters are this, voters are that.
Well, I
to
think
you, what
the
what is-
problem may be with
what-
that. I have to
what-
interrupt that.
But I get that. So what is, and you can answer all those questions and I'll give you your time.
I'm not remembering all of them, but I'll try to write them down.
What is the DNA of a typical MAGA voter in your eyes?
There's not any typical DNA. I think there's basically 3 primary categories of people that vote for Republicans, and Trump introduced a 4th. Fair to introduce these 4 categories?
Break it down for
Okay.
us. For us that, you know, we don't have your intelligence.
Well, it's not
Tell us-
about intelligence,
Yeah.
and I don't know if you're being sarcastic. It's not about intelligence. It's just about have you researched.
This
have
is
you
your
looked at
world.
it? Okay,
so this
fine.
is your world. So you know, tell us what you think about the 3 and the 4th.
With your intelligence,
Yeah.
imagine what you could do if you looked up the things I look up. That's really the incredible. Okay, no. So in all seriousness, 4 basic groups. Pre-Trump, you had 3 groups. You had sort of pro-business, low-tax right-wingers, people like Mitt Romney, basically. They are, I mean, Romney maybe isn't a little bit of an exception because as a Mormon, he has some socially conservative views, but you've got like your Romney type who's concerned with let's not overregulate businesses, let's not have taxes that are too high, let's create a good business environment. As governor of Massachusetts, that was sort of his idea, and that's a very blue state, and he did well. So you've got like your Romney types.
Traditional, low tax, limited government.
Yeah.
Republican,
not extreme
millionaire,
not extreme right on
business
social issues
type people,
not
exactly.
particularly homophobic, for example, or okay. Then you've got your more libertarian-minded people. I found it interesting when you said you're independent and libertarians. In the U.S., libertarians are mostly right-wing, and they mostly vote for Republicans. So then you've got your very libertarian-minded people whose focus is that. We want just as much freedom to do as much stuff as possible. It often includes freedom to discriminate if I don't want to do, like a gay wedding cake. That you've got that group. You then have evangelical and religious voters whose primary things are less economic.
So what was your second one? Second one is
libertarian.
Libertarian. Okay.
Third, you've got your evangelical religious
The Mike Pence
voters.
vote, if you will.
More the Mike Pence vote, people for whom abortion and gay marriage and more recently, trans stuff, that's really the most important. They'll go with the economic stuff, even though it's actually often not good for them. And you started to see this under Reagan a lot, where these religious voters, they went with Reagan, even though economically it wasn't the best thing for them. Those are typically the three groups.
You hear the common term, they're voting against their interests because they have social ideology that they gravitate towards.
So you've got those three groups. Trump had all of that. The early Ted Cruz support in 2016 is that third group, that evangelical. That eventually went to Trump. Trump coalesced these groups because they really weren't going to vote for Hillary. The fourth group, which Trump kind of created, is people who were not at all engaged with politics before. They didn't pay attention. They knew Trump as a celebrity. They didn't really have a political identity. They were disaffected. They weren't really participating before.
So 4 is his personality, is what you're saying?
Yeah,
Or
yeah. They got brought in specifically.
you said he introduced that? That's been around for a while, though.
He introduced what?
You're saying Trump introduced the 4th. You said typically it's 3.
Oh, yeah.
But Trump introduced the 4th, or Trump has the 4th?
Trump activated
the fourth.
activated this fourth group, which was people who were not in any of those three categories I mentioned and got engaged in politics for the first time because they heard Trump say something that they liked. Either
Give some examples of those type of. Are you talking about West Virginia coal miners or people in the deep red South?
They were from all over, but it was people who liked that Trump was going to fix trade with China. A lot of them didn't really know what that meant, but it sounded pretty good. Maybe the person had lost a job. They came to believe it's because of China that I lost my job. That sounds good. Or people who are on immigration, they're like, the wall, of course, you and I know you're never building a wall, never mind Mexico's going to pay for it. But there were people who liked the idea, never were in politics, like, no, it sounds good, I'm voting for Trump. So he brought in this fourth group.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so the fourth group, to be exact, it's his personality that people were turned on by the way he was.
Could be personality, but it could be that there was one thing he said that they really liked.
So let me ask you a question. Is there something wrong with that? I'm curious. Are you going to a place where there's something wrong with that, or?
No, it's not about right or wrong.
Yeah.
It's a question of whether any of us think that the policy motivations for any of those groups align with ours.
Somebody may say there's a lot of people that showed up for Obama just because he was black.
Sure, they can say that. I don't
Right.
know. I mean, I don't know.
But
Is
what do you
that
mean?
true?
You don't think it's true?
Of course, in a country of 330 million people, there are going to be some.
No, but you said you don't know if it's true. It's like, what do you mean you don't know if it's true? I don't have any. You don't have any data? You want to get data to say people showed up that they just because they're black?
There's exit polling on most of these issues. We might be able to find it right now.
No, it's you know.
I think it's fair to say people voted for him because he was a cool black
I cannot even tell you how many people. I knew Republicans who were voting for Obama in the insurance industry just because, like, listen, man, the first time this guy talks like MLK. You know, he sounds reasonable. I'm going to vote for the guy. There's a lot of people that came out with him. So somebody may say, well, you know, the reason why Obama got elected because he's got the 3 difficult things when he talks to the Democrat, but the 4th thing is he was black.
Okay.
And are you going to say what?
I would say, yeah, I'm sure that there's a portion of people who vote based on that.
So you're saying the DNA of a Trump MAGA voter who looks past policies. So you're saying on the 3 policies he didn't check off, the 3 policies here, the 3 points. You're saying that.
I'm saying he didn't build the wall, or I'm not.
No, so let me take a step back with you.
Please.
So I'm asking you a question, and I said, so tell me if you're saying he's going to get reelected without COVID. You're saying he would have gotten reelected.
I think he would have.
Perfect. And then you said your words. You said something in the context of, you know, because I think the MAGA voter is not about policies. That's what you said.
A lot of that fourth group, yes, is not about overarching accomplishments, or like I'll give you an example of what I'm talking about, and maybe it'll help to distill it. I got a call at some point during the first term of Trump from a guy who said, I'm voting for this guy. This guy is just the best. And I said, oh, okay. What do you care about? How are you evaluating his performance to decide if you're going to vote for him in 2020? Like, I'm curious, how do you decide? He said, well, I care about the wall. So he's got to build that wall. And I said, perfect. If he doesn't build the wall, are you still going to vote for him? And he says, well, yeah, I'm not going to vote for a Democrat. So I said, oh, so it doesn't actually matter if he builds the wall.
The same with you as well, though. There's no way you're voting for a Republican either. Would you vote for a Republican?
Sure. Yeah. If I
have you ever voted for a Republican president?
No, I mean, I've only voted in a few elections.
Yeah,
no, but hold on a second.
But you're 40 years old. You're 1984, so
I'm 38. Please.
84, 38 years old. 38 is still, you've had plenty of elections.
Let's back up for a second. There's two questions. Would I and have I? I've only voted in a few presidential elections.
You've had plenty of chances.
Well, but who would I voted for? I was going to vote for George W. Bush in 2004. No.
But it doesn't matter. The point is, when you're calling that guy out, you're the same as that guy.
No, I'm not.
Okay, so tell me a Republican you'd vote for.
I think you're missing the picture. I think
what is it, though?
The point is, he made a claim that he was going to make a vote depending on policy. And when I then said, so if the policy fails, you'll vote for someone else? And he said, no, actually, the policy doesn't matter. Mm-hmm. That's the difference. I'm not making that claim.
Yeah.
Okay. It's a completely different thing.
I mean, the same can be said. To take one example of a story of a person who sounds like an idiot, to say that and then categorize everybody in Trump is selective hearing. To say
that's not what I'm doing.
That's selective for you. Well, you are kind of doing that. You're saying here's a Republican voter who you ask, why are you thinking about voting for Trump? Oh, because he's building the wall. Then you said, if he doesn't build the wall, well, I would never vote for a Democrat. Well, do you care if the wall never gets built? No, I don't care. I'm going to vote for him anyways. Well, that doesn't sound like a reasonable voter to me, though.
That's right. He's not a reasonable voter.
Well, the reasonable voters to me was also, if you were to ask the average person who voted for Biden,
sure,
they didn't vote for Biden.
Okay.
They voted against Trump.
Okay.
Do you disagree?
I'd have to look at exit polls. Is that true?
So is that where you go to?
Something like
for
that.
For a guy who, if this is your space,
yeah.
What's your podcast about?
What is it about?
What's your show about?
News and politics.
You should know this stuff. You're the expert. I brought you here.
I just don't remember that offhand. Let's find it right now.
But this is your world. Like, if you ask me questions on business, I'm going to say, let me give you my feedback on what I think about business.
Yeah.
You invite me on your podcast, and hey, Pat, I want to talk about business.
Let's do that.
I have no problem with it to do that part. But what I'm saying to you is, if you're coming here saying what you're saying,
sure,
and then I ask you a simple question of, so the same thing can be said about people that voted for Biden. Yeah, I'm going to vote for anybody. Dude, nobody would show up when Biden would speak. Did you not see his tour when he was going campaighing?
Patrick, you're not really doing this, are you?
You're
doing this?
I'm actually curious where you're going to go now.
Biden wasn't even doing events where, this is the Biden one from the basement thing.
Yeah.
I have a counter to this entire, and I want to just be really clear. I don't really care about defending Biden in any particular sense. I just think he was the better option than Trump. I feel like I'm being framed as this Biden lover who's going to defend everything Biden
I'm not
did.
doing that. You may be thinking I'm not doing that to you. What I'm asking,
what I want to say about this is,
can you pull up Biden's rallies when he was running for president? Go ahead. Let's see the pictures. But go ahead.
Biden didn't do a campaign the way Trump did it. And the funniest thing to me about
neither has anybody done it like the way Biden's done it. He hid.
But hold the guys.
This was during COVID, though.
Yes. Let's back up for a second.
Look how beautiful that is.
Well,
these are
because
COVID
it's
rallies.
COVID.
Oh, stop!
Patrick,
you got to be kidding me.
Can I tell you something?
Pat,
this is really
You're
the
telling
height of
me.
COVID.
You
seem silly when you do this.
Here's what I'm willing to do. Here's what I'm willing to do.
Please.
I'm willing to give him $1 million of my own money right now to go try to fill up an arena.
For what? What's the point?
Oh no!
To show that nobody is inspired by this guy.
This is not silly.
No, but
what's silly is for you to assume people voted for Biden. They voted against Trump, is what they did.
Many did, yeah, sure.
Yeah, but you just said.
I said I don't know what the percentage is. All I'm saying is I don't know the percentage.
But it's your world, though. This is like if you're gonna sit here and talk about how bad the Trump voter is, and let me tell you, these people, all they care about is his personality outside of the taxes and all this other stuff. And then I ask you a question, and I say, so why did people vote for Biden? Many of them voted him because they just didn't want Trump. Yeah, I don't know the numbers on that. You should know those numbers.
What? I just don't know that offhand. I mean, we can look it up. Why do I need to memorize?
Can I make a quick point?
Can I just get? There's just one thing I want to say here.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
This entire Biden hid stuff. It's such a
hid or hid
in his basement.
Yeah.
Because when you talk about
he did though. He hid a lot of times, but
can I get a statement out? Okay. If I were on the right, I would stop saying that because it's embarrassing to Trump that he lost to a guy who hid in his basement.
It's not.
That's the crazy thing.
Your president, your guy, Joe Biden, is the greatest hide and go seek champion of all time.
Wait, hold on a sec. When he's not your president?
He's my president.
Oh, okay. He's our president.
But he's your guy. He's the guy you're defending. You're defending him right now to say
only that he's better than Trump because you're making me do this.
The only reason that there's no way even the liberals today are not saying he's better than Trump in executing or taking action or doing anything.
Let's find that.
The only credit. Well, at this point, you've lost credibility to talk about polls because you don't even know what you're talking about when you're saying. Well, I don't know. I don't know if the people were voting against Trump. Let's find a poll. So if you can't agree to that
I don't know how many. Of course they were.
It's not just how many. It's if you go on look at any of these people who were doing what do you call it? Street. When they're going talking to people
Street interviews?
It's like, hey, so tell me, who would you vote here? Trump's the worst. I would never vote for him. People didn't want to vote for this guy because 99% of the media, everybody was sitting there bashing him nonstop. By the way, same thing's going to happen with DeSantis.
Yeah.
Same thing happened with Bush. The only Republicans Democrats like is ex-presidents who are now painters. That's the only Republicans Democrats like because they're no longer a threat. Okay. Trump's a big threat. So for you to say, well, we now have respect around the world.
Yeah.
I don't even know if I want that. I think if there's an element of competition, because I think if China has to choose between Trump or Biden, and China would rather have Biden, that's probably not a good sign for me.
Okay. Is it a good sign if Russia wants Trump? I mean, this is kind of a silly game, right?
No, but Russia is not our number one enemy. Russia doesn't control 80% of chips. Russia is not as powerful as people think they are. They have a lot of nukes. They lead the world. Totally get it. But we're seeing right now what's happening to Russia. Russia is more, they're powerful. You got to put them up there. They're strong. But China is really, really strong in experience. China hates America. China doesn't, they've publicly announced what they're going to be doing. You know, there's a very big difference between China and Russia. And by the way, I'm not sitting here telling you we got to be best friends with Russia. But if China likes a president over another one, that is a red flag for me.
Yeah, it's not rare as a view on the American right that is generally, who cares what other countries think? I would almost rather they hate us. That's really common.
I didn't say that.
No, I'm not
that's
saying
what you were
did.
saying.
I
want to see a poll on that. Do you have a poll on that?
Not offhand.
Then how could you say, why, do you have a poll? Give me a poll.
Patrick.
But no, give me a poll because that's an anecdote now.
We can use this to stop any conversation.
But you're doing that. But that's what you're doing, though.
You just did it with the polls about liberals
you're the
no
expert.
longer like
You're the
Biden.
political expert. I'm not.
Oh, come on.
You're the political expert. What you just did, no, you're being silly. So I'm giving you exactly what you've been doing for the first 30 minutes. Now it officially bothers you.
No, it doesn't bother me. I think it's silly. I think we don't get anywhere.
But wait a minute. But what you're saying is that if the argument you give, I said, show me a poll.
Yeah.
Show it to me. You can't do it.
There's a difference between you
what?
saying that there's a specific opinion among voters that they were motivated by a particular reason. We have polling on that. We just have to find it.
You like to use that, but not when it works against you. Yeah, I didn't say hate. I'm not a hate guy. If I was a hate guy, you wouldn't be here today.
I didn't say that.
No, you said most Republicans would prefer if other countries hated us. You're assuming.
I didn't say most. Run it back.
Wait, you didn't say what?
I didn't say most.
You said what?
I said there is a contingent on the right that actually is emboldened by if they don't
How small of a community is that?
Don't know.
So you're going to take the exception? Are you going to make that argument?
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Patrick, I'm verklempt.
Yeah. You and I both.
You and Linda Richmond.
I we're going tangent where we can't really drill down on any one issue.
I'm saying to you, hate is not. If I had hate, I would have not had you on.
I didn't ascribe that word to you.
You said, I said fear. I said fear is
Earlier
what I said.
in the show.
No. What I mean is, if China prefers any president,
Yeah.
for example, if McConnell is going to be president,
Yeah.
and China wants McConnell over, let's pick I don't know, over Tulsi.
Okay.
I'm not McConnell.
Okay.
If China wants pick what is her name, Liz Cheney? If China was Liz Cheney over Pete Buttigieg, I would be hesitant there.
Okay.
Because who is the number one enemy? Who is the number one enemy? I'm actually curious what you're going to think about that.
I don't know
polls.
about
this
the
is
term,
a part that I'm not asking polls.
I don't know about the term enemy. I mean, I think in terms of adversary, I think it's Russia and China differently in different ways, as you talked about. We depend way more on China for goods that we enjoy being cheap because they're made in China rather than here.
I agree.
That confers huge economic power to China. Russia, in a different way, yes, it's the nukes. Yes, it's the more unstable leader. It's also alliances with countries where Russia's involvement can goad or pull the United States in ways that are both resource intensive and politically disadvantageous. So I think those are the
which
two
countries? Give me.
I mean, there's the Afghanistan situation. You could argue Russia. I mean, with Venezuela, there's issues there that are more economic, relating to oil, which we've talked about. It's less about products and it's less about supply chain with Russia, although with energy, Russia is a factor. But I think those are our two biggest adversaries. I don't know if the right term is enemy. I'm open to exploring whether that's the right term. Certainly adversary is the right term.
I think I'm on the same page with you on whether it's adversary or enemy.
Yeah.
You know, keep in mind, I've never taken anything past ESL in my English, so the word enemy and adversary may have the same meaning to me, maybe a different meaning for you.
Fair.
It's opposition is how I see it, but I agree. But the part for me is if a country is overly comfortable with one and is afraid of imposing pain on them and kind of backs off a little bit, I want to know a little bit more.
Do you apply that to every country or only the countries you're concerned about, like China? And what I mean by that is, I'll give you.
I know what you're going to go to Russia.
No,
Trump.
No.
Go ahead.
Forget about that.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, if Denmark prefers Liz Cheney over Pete Buttigieg, does that influence your thinking?
Not necessarily.
Okay, fair.
Yeah.
So what I'm getting at is, you're concerned not in general with the opinions.
No, I'm saying the domain is main enemies. Denmark is not somebody. We don't wake up in the morning worry about what Denmark.
That's why I asked the question.
Yeah, and Denmark has never publicly said by 2025 we're going to be bigger than America and we're going to do this. They've never said that. There's only a few countries that have said that.
That's
Denmark's
fair.
not one of them.
So it would be fair then just to say, your concern is not so when I say, hey, you know what? Spain, Portugal, Italy, France, UK, Argentina, Chile, Colombia, I give you those. They respect Biden more than Trump. That would not be a concern to you because they aren't the adversaries you're concerned with.
No, I'm curious where you're going with this. So,
no, nowhere. I'm just.
Okay.
I have no hidden agenda.
All I'm saying is this. Here's what I'm saying. Let's just say, for example, let's say, I don't know, SBF, Sam Bankman-Fried.
Yep.
If he got up on the pulpit and for 30 minutes said great things about you, and then you got up and said 30 minutes good things about him, I'm a little worried about you. Okay? So I sit there and I'm saying, interesting.
I get the concept.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's all I'm saying to you.
Okay, but it only applies because it's Sam Bankman-Fried, right?
Of course.
If, Kelly, who brought me in here, said great things about me, that you would have a different opinion.
She's not an enemy. She's not an adversary.
Correct. Yeah. Okay, that's fair. So really, there's this small list of countries where you would say their opinion is a concern to me.
I'm actually really curious where you're going, though.
Just to say, it's not you acted as though the general reality.
No. I'm not. I'm not sitting here putting everybody. I'm telling you top enemies. Okay,
Yeah.
so who's the third? Who concerns you the most at third spot?
I'm not sure. I mean, you could make the case that, there's a view that it would be one of the so-called socialist communist nations like North Korea. People talk about, among the American right, there's big concern about Cuba and Venezuela. I don't really share that concern. I'm not a supporter of either of those regimes, to be clear, and I'm glad to talk about that, but I don't really share that concern. I think third actually is more difficult to say.
Iran.
Yeah. Iran is a concern, not economically, but it's basically all focused around nuclear weapons and the possibility of seeding terror. So that's a very different situation than Russia and very different situation than China. With third, it really depends on the politics of the person that you ask, and I kind of keep an open mind on that.
David, why are you not a socialist?
Why am I not a socialist? Well,
you say you're not a socialist, unless if you are.
No.
Okay, so tell us, why are you not a socialist?
I'm not a socialist because
You grew up in Argentina, right?
Okay. I was 5 when I moved to the U.S. Yeah.
But I mean, like some of your family, they're supporters of socialist.
Like who?
Your mom supports socialism or no?
No. Where did I get that?
There's an article that says about your mom supports socialism.
In Argentina.
Yeah.
In the 60s, when my parents were kids, among the Jewish community, there were lefty socialist Jewish groups. They were sort of like nominally socialist, and they were cultural and et cetera. And my mom certainly was part of that when she was 12 and 14. But no, my parents aren't socialists today.
That doesn't mean anything. I'm just because my mom's a communist.
Yeah. No, I'm saying. I'm just curious of where that came from.
Why are you not a socialist?
I think that the market is a fine way to direct resources in the vast majority of areas, whether it's sneakers or automobiles or cell phones. I think that that's absolutely a fine way to direct resources. I see it as an authoritarian imposition for a government to come to a business owner like you or like me and say, you must socialize the ownership of this company. And I'm against that. I don't see any reason for that. I don't see a legal basis and I don't see a moral basis for it. What I am okay with as a capitalist, right? So, and I know I saw your conversation with my friend Kyle Kolinsky, and it seemed like you guys were talking past each other a little bit on social democracy versus socialism or whatever. I consider myself a social democrat, sort of in the mold of Denmark, Sweden, et cetera. Those are capitalist countries that have decided to socialize a couple more things than we've socialized in the United States. That's really the difference. And it's capitalism. It's a form of capitalism.
Capitalism to make the money, socialism to spend the money in a lot of these countries.
No, I mean, I think that's a common talking point, but maybe to distill it in a way. Are we all okay with socializing the military? Are you cool with that? Like, in other words, we use taxes.
So then let me ask the question a different way. So it's funny to me, just the way a lot of people on the other side are funny to you when somebody says I'm not a socialist, but then they defend socialism and go straight to military and how much it costs and how much money spent.
That's not the direction I was going.
I'm just saying. But
it's not fair to interrupt something with a rebuttal for what I'm not doing.
Go ahead.
Okay. Are you okay socializing the military in the sense that we have one military run by the government, our taxes pay into it, and it's centralized, and that's the military? There aren't a bunch of different, there's not, Patrick's military, and if you want to pay taxes there, and that military might have different goals than the military in Texas, or that would be crazy, right? We socialize the military. We have, everybody pays their taxes. We have a federal military. Fair?
Keep going.
Do we have that?
Keep going.
We can't make progress unless we establish where we agree or where we disagree.
But I'm curious to know where you're going with this.
Well,
because you said that's not the argument you're making, so I'm curious to know where you're going with
the argument I was going to make was not that we spend too much on the military.
Okay, so I'm curious what you're going to say.
Are you okay with the military being organized the way it is? We pay taxes, and then the military has centralized command, and that's the way it's organized. Is that okay with you at the federal level?
That's the current system that we have here.
And does it bother you, or is that okay?
Does it bother me that we have I don't even think we have at this point, but we can have a strong military that prevents future wars for somebody who lived in Iran and went through war for 10 years with Iraq and experienced all that, yeah, I'd like us to have a strong military.
Okay, and you're okay with it being run the way it's run. We pay taxes.
I don't think we're running it well right now, so I don't know what you mean by that, but I'm not happy with the way we run it today.
These aren't trick questions.
I'm curious to know where you're going.
Let me give a different example.
Yeah.
Are you okay with the fact that the fire department is socialized, usually at the municipality level?
I am.
You're okay with
Yeah,
that?
I am.
Okay. Are you okay?
Because it's community, because it's where you live. Yes.
Fair. Are you okay with the FAA being socialized in the sense that the air traffic control is run by the FAA? There aren't all these different air traffic controls where here's a couple airlines that use one and then here's a couple airlines that use another. We have the FAA, they run ATC. This is what keeps planes from running into each other. Our taxes go into it. It's socialized. Is that okay with you? Socialized means we are distributing the cost among the people and giving centralized control to that entity. Is it okay?
Am I willing to spend a portion of my taxes?
Not my question.
For that? Yes.
Okay. The difference between where I think you are politically and someone like me is I'm okay socializing a couple more things. Okay. So it's really where these conversations go off the rail with allegations of socialism and whatever. You just said you're okay socializing a number of things I mentioned, and there's more, right? We could say, are you okay with like the VA? That's a socialized medicine. I don't know if you're okay with the VA. Maybe you are, maybe you're not. You and I agree on socializing a whole bunch of stuff. I want to socialize a couple more, and otherwise everything's the same. I don't know that makes me a socialist.
Let me ask you a question, David. So, out of every dollar you make, what are you comfortable being taxed on, like being taken away?
It depends what I get for that. Can I give an example?
Sure.
Okay. My willingness to be taxed would be greater if, for example, my or my daughter's college education were paid for by those taxes. So in a vacuum, it's really hard to answer that question because it depends what we get.
Okay, so let me continue with these questions.
Please.
So, who do you think makes better decision for your daughter, you or the government?
What kinds of decisions?
School.
What kind, like college?
Let's just say if you pay me, I'm the government, but I'll choose which school she can go to, versus you don't pay me, the government, you take that responsibility and you get to choose to send your daughter to what school she wants to go to.
What do you mean the government chooses?
But I'm giving you those options. So meaning the government says these are the schools that will pay the tuition for. Okay.
You're talking college and university?
I'm talking college and university.
Okay.
Yeah. So I'm assuming that's what you're talking about. You're talking public school.
I didn't know which direction you were going.
Yeah, but go back to when I asked you the question. I asked the question. I said, so what percentage of your dollar are you willing to be taxed on?
Yeah.
Not taxed on, just taxed.
Yeah.
And you said it depends on what happens with what I'm paying for.
Yeah.
Right. Kind of what you said. Okay.
Sure.
So do you think?
I mean, is that logical? Do you agree with that, at least in principle?
Do you? Well, I think you have a good brain and a good mind to make better decisions on what to do with your money than the government can.
No, but before we go into the specific education, because I'm trying to find points of agreement here, because I actually don't think we're really that far apart on a lot of these issues. Are you of the mindset that, just hypothetically, are you okay paying more in taxes if the taxes include fire, police, roads, bridges? Are you generally just
have you ever lent anybody money?
Yes, but you're not answering my question.
But I'm gonna answer to you. Okay. This is my way of answering. You have your way of answering. I'm gonna answer the way I'm answering. So, have you ever lent the same person? Have you ever lent money to somebody a good amount and they never paid you back?
Fortunately, not.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, guess what?
Yeah.
I feel the same way you do about giving money to the government because they haven't had a good track record of doing right things with my money.
It sounds like you're saying the opposite. I'm saying I have not had an experience.
Well, but you're wiser. Good for you that you haven't had that experience because it sucks. But here's the part. Have you ever lent your car to somebody and it didn't work out for you?
No.
Never happened to you?
No. I have leases and I just tell them, listen, I'm the only person who can drive. I don't even know if that's true. I just say my insurance won't cover it.
Have you ever allowed somebody to borrow anything from you?
Yeah.
Have you?
Yes.
Okay, give me an idea. Something, anything.
Something like that they broke or something like
Whatever
that?
you lend somebody.
Oh, I'm trying to remember. And people don't really ask me for stuff very often. Like,
This is a serious question here, man. Like the world is relying on you giving the right answer.
what have I mean, maybe when I was like 14, I lent somebody a Discman and they did.
Are you a video game guy? Are you a gamer?
Not really.
So what do you do for fun?
Bike, read, travel.
You ever lent a bike to somebody?
God, no.
So you may not be.
No, I've lent a bike. No, I've lent a bike.
Okay,
Yeah, I've lent my bike.
so have you ever lent a bike to somebody?
Yes.
And they jacked it up.
No.
You've never had that happen.
No.
To you. Then you're living in a freaking utopia. That's why you don't understand economy yet, maybe.
I have undergraduate and graduate
I know,
degrees
but that
in
part, but that's
economics.
concerning as well.
Yeah.
I mean,
that probably means I know less in your mind,
well,
right?
no, not necessarily. That just means you programmed. It's a different story to think in one way because that
disagree
part,
with you.
But that part is true. A lot of it with current
I
education.
was programmed and then deprogrammed.
Well, when you got 13-1, that's a true monopoly of professors on the left to the right. That's a pure monopoly. But let me go back to the question, what I'm asking. You asked me the question, are you comfortable, as long as what they do with the money?
That wasn't my question.
What was your question?
My question was, as a general principle,
Yeah.
are you okay paying a little more if you get more?
Same question. In my eyes, it's the same thing. Here's why the answer is no.
Oh.
Okay. The reason why the answer is no, I love your sarcasm. The reason why the answer is no is because if I give somebody a relative $1,000,
Okay.
it's the last $1,000 you're going to give me. I'm telling you, bro, I'm going to pay you back $1,500 in 2 years.
Yep.
Never get it back.
Okay.
2 years later, you come back to me. Hey, this time give me $5,000, but I promise you, I'm going to give it back 10 grand.
Yeah.
Okay, no problem. Here you go. 2 years later, he comes back up. Dude, this time I'm asking for 10, but I'm changed.
Right.
I'm good, bro. Trust me.
I'm a changed man.
Give me the money. I'm going to fix it. If you give it the third time, you're an idiot in my eyes. We keep giving money to people with zero accountability, and we just keep saying, here, go
What
spend this
money
money.
are you talking about?
$1.9 trillion.
But money for what programs?
Any programs that we're giving money to that there's no accountability for
Which
is being
programs are
wasted.
those?
Any one of them.
But name
include
one.
military. Include any of the entitlement programs that we have.
Like which one?
Include welfare. Include food stamps. Include any one of them. We
But I
can
don't-
pull it up and I'll tell you right now any one of them.
But what I don't understand is, what do you mean by there's no accountability?
Can I give an example,
Yeah.
please? Because I think what you're trying
The
to say
fact
is
that you don't know where I'm going with this is an issue.
Well-
Because so what you're saying is you know exactly what happens with the money when you give it to when you pay taxes?
No, I just don't understand what you're talking about.
You really don't know what I'm talking about.
Let me give you some examples.
Can I just give one
Yeah.
example and then we can open this up and you guys can have
Yeah.
fun doing what you're
Yeah.
doing? What I think you are saying is fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. And I think what Patrick is alluding to is the fact that we are now at $30 trillion in debt.
Okay.
And the fact that we keep piling on this issue of like, I get it. We all need military. We need the police. We need the firemen. We need all these social systems. We need a social safety net. We need welfare. We need Medicaid. We need Medicare. I think what his point is like, at what point is enough enough? Now we want to pile more stuff into our storage unit that is already filled to the brim, and we're going to keep piling and piling and piling more. And at what point is he saying, can we stop funding the government this way? Because it's not a good look for us because we're at 31, 32, 35 trillion. And what he's saying, I think, is like, we're going to have to make some cuts and make some adjustments.
Okay.
And you're saying, let's double down. Let's keep adding some to this stuff.
I didn't say that.
No, I'm like, you want to add more systems, you said.
I think
You said I want one or two more.
No, but wait a minute. You really didn't understand what I just said.
Did he not understand it, or did
you?
I not?
I'm asking you.
I want to get to just a very specific example
Yeah.
of a specific program that
Yeah.
you're displeased with.
Buddy, anything.
So you're against all government programs.
I didn't tell you all government programs.
So which ones are you against?
If you give money into programs that you're coming out saying, hey, we're going to spend $88 million for this.
Okay.
If you want me to pull it up and we can go through expenses and tell you which ones works and which one doesn't, we can do that as well if that's what you want to do. But if you constantly come to me for more money, let me just put it to you this way.
Yeah.
What does it mean when a company or an individual is in debt $200,000?
When a company or an
When
individual
let's
is in debt.
let's just say I'm in the $200,000,
Okay.
and it was $100,000 5 years ago.
Okay.
It was $50,000 10 years ago.
Yeah.
It was $10,000 15 years ago. I come to you for another $50,000. Should you lend it to me?
Probably not. No.
What are we doing? What are we doing? We're lending our taxpayer.
It sounds like you're analogizing.
But we're lending our taxpayer money, and we keep getting into more and more and more and more in debt. If the government was an individual or a corporation, I don't understand why investors keep giving this government more money when they have no cash.
The critical answer is the government and countries are not like households or companies. That's the difference. It's not an.
That's not true.
It's not
though.
analogous.
That's not
it's
true.
Not
though.
analogous.
That's not true though.
No,
so meaning it's okay for us to keep going into debt. That's okay.
That's not what I'm saying.
So what
but
is
I think
different about it?
It's important to have a balanced view that when it comes to, and what's crazy about this is, I'm not advocating for getting more and more into debt, right? Trump did a great job of it blowing up the deficit. The deficit, we still have a positive deficit. It's slightly lower.
I didn't
under
say
Biden.
Republican or Democrat.
I'm
telling you, I'm not supportive of a period.
Presidents, generally speaking, increase the debt.
But first,
Fair.
make the argument on how different it is to give the analogy of personal household, that it's okay for the government to increase its debt, but not on the personal side.
It's
or
not
the
a question of it's
side.
okay. It's not the same. And what I'm struggling with, Patrick, is that like everything I'm saying is just being relayed to me, usually interrupting me incorrectly. So now I'm having to clean up what you think I said to then answer the original thing. My point is the following.
You said those three are different things.
They are different
Explain
things.
why.
They are different things.
Explain.
With a household or corporate budget or debt, you at some point at the end of the day don't have any more recourse to carry the debt, and you either have to declare bankruptcy or you have to, all the things that you know. With a country, of course, if the economic growth becomes decoupled from the growth in the national debt, that is a problem. We've seen it in many, many countries. But in the United States, and again, I'm not saying who cares about the debt or the deficit, but I think we have to appreciate that there's a difference. If your economy keeps growing, if that national debt grows more or less in parallel with the growth of the economy, and it continues to be backed, you don't get to that day where there is the you're now being evicted crisis that an individual has. That doesn't mean, let me say this one more time. I'm not saying the debt doesn't matter. There are people who say it literally does not matter. I'm not saying that.
Here's the question. Okay, so but let me kind of try to give the point of the example I want to give to you.
Yeah.
So what is a sign when an institution keeps increasing its debt? What sign is there? So if I keep getting fatter, is it because I'm a big bone person, or it's because I may have a bad diet and not exercising? What do you think?
I guess it.
You need
personally,
polls. I forgot.
You personally, I guess I'd have to ask your doctor. I don't know.
If you're a small bone guy, you don't seem like you were big when you were. Have you ever been 200 pounds?
No.
Okay.
No.
So if you all of a sudden next time you come on the podcast, you're 250 pounds,
you
should
would
I
be worried
concerned?
about me. You should be concerned.
So can you accidentally become 250 pounds?
It would be a number of accidents in a row.
Exactly. Which, by the way, you probably enjoyed your dinner. You probably enjoyed your food.
Right.
But if you came back 250 pounds, as a friend or even somebody that's in the similar space that we're creating content, should I off camera say, hey, bro, what's up?
I would appreciate it if you did.
Okay, I should do. You're a father. You got a kid. I'd like you to be around for your daughter.
Thank you.
Statistically, we're a better society when we are.
Right.
Okay. So if you come to me and I'm smelling bad. I'm not shaving. I look like crap. I have nothing. And I'm getting worse week after week after week. Should you question and say, Pat, is everything okay?
I think so, yeah.
I think it's a good idea.
These are fun examples.
I'm trying to have fun with you.
Different than what we're talking about.
If a country keeps increasing its debt year after year after year after year after year, should we not be concerned?
We should be concerned about whether we're spending money in the right ways. We should be concerned about whether we're collecting
But let's give them another $1.9 trillion.
I'm not saying that. That's the thing. You know, I don't.
But you are saying that because you said the only difference when you went to your example of military and you wanted me to say yes, and you said, look, I'm not a socialist because I think this. And he said, the only difference is I just want 2 or 3 more programs. And what I'm saying is we can't afford it today.
Okay, that's
maybe in 20 years.
But And I worry that I don't know if you think I'm talking in bad faith or if you maybe don't understand my political views, but I think differences that are actually much more subtle than you think they are being blown up as if there's this crazy difference here about what's going on. We're definitely using different rhetoric in this conversation, but I don't know whether we're actually understanding each other really that well, because I'm with you. If there are programs that are wasteful, how do we define wasteful, right? That's the difficulty. But if there are programs that are wasteful, if there are programs that are not economically stimulative, if there are programs that are being used for fraudulent reasons or whatever the case, I'm going to be right there with you saying we need to do something about this. The things I'm looking at when they are done in other countries, the country doesn't become socialist. You can still own your business. They don't socialize your business. They don't communize your business. None of those things happen. Many of these countries have really good business environments, but they're just saying, hey, we have enough riches here that this capitalist system has created, which I'm in favor of, where we can do a couple more things. That's all I'm saying.
What I'm saying to you is...
You don't want it.
No, it's not what I'm saying to you, that I don't want it.
Yeah, we can't afford it.
If you can stop interrupting this entire damn show, freaking,
it's not fun, is it?
No, I'm good with it. It's part of having conversations with people. It doesn't offend me. But if I sit there and I say, David, we can't afford it right now.
Okay, I would say, what do you mean?
I would tell you it's called $31 trillion.
Okay.
Is what it's called. We're in debt, a lot of debt.
Okay.
And you may not have to pay it back. Somebody has to pay it back. Your 7-year-old's going to have to pay it back, but that money's not going to print. 7-month-old's going to have to pay it back. Someone's going to pay it back.
Yeah.
Okay. That $31 trillion, you're not just one day going to say, guys, let's just write this thing off. You guys okay, China? Hey, Japan, you cool? Let's just write this thing off and just forget about it. And let's start again.
Yeah.
How cool would that be?
Well,
we can't do that. We have that debt. We can't afford it right now.
One of the things about a lot of these issues is, first of all, they're way bigger than any conversation where we just list the programs and say we cut. If you look historically, countries don't cut their way to economic prosperity. Countries tend to grow their way to economic prosperity. You with me so far?
Yes.
Countries grow their way out of economic prosperity.
No, that's the opposite of what I said.
Countries
grow their way into economic prosperity. They grow by
I've
building
heard that
businesses.
one too many times. So let's keep getting into debt, is what you're saying.
No, that's not what I'm saying.
So what are you saying?
What I'm saying is, over the long term, if the government spending is economically stimulative, it will help to grow the economy. It's fundamental demand-side economics. So as an example, there are certain government programs that are highly... Are these cigars, by the way? I just noticed this over here.
You can take it.
If countries... spend money on... I don't know. You seem to be looking something up. I don't know if you're paying attention.
I'm listening to you, though. I am listening to you. Go ahead.
If countries spend money on economically stimulative programs with a high economic multiplier, they can create growth. If countries spend money in ways that are not economically stimulative, then it increases the debt. So, for example, just to pick two different programs, I don't have any emotional attachment to these two programs. I'm just going to list two programs. Food stamps and... What is happening in here, by the way? Are those gummies?
Yeah, taking vitamins.
Man, this is
healthy
great.
for you.
I know.
I don't want to be a 400-pound guy.
Food stamps have a high economic multiplier. Okay. Tax cuts for the very rich have a low economic multiplier. I'm not passing any judgment in any way. I'm just telling you there are ways that the government can spend money that is good for the economy and ways that is not so good. That's my only point.
What were the two programs you said you wanted to add on?
I think we should have some kind of minimum level healthcare system for everybody. And it would actually be cheaper than what we have. What we have includes people that go to the emergency room as primary care, which is insanely expensive. Sometimes they don't pay their bills, and that leads to everybody who does have health insurance is just absorbing that cost. It would just be cheaper if we provided everybody some basic level of care. There are states that have done it. I think that's just a basic thing. And secondly, I would like to socialize some aspect of paid family leave, parental and maternal. Not hugely expensive. It's economically stimulative in the sense that when other countries have done it, they find that productivity ends up being higher when parents return to work, and it's been widely studied. These are just two things. We're already paying for most of them, either in terms of productivity losses or through the healthcare that we pay for to absorb people who don't pay and use the emergency room. It can be done, revenue neutral.
What percentage, if going back to it, with what we have right now, the way it is today?
Yeah.
What percentage of your dollar are you comfortable paying in taxes?
1%.
Really?
Less than Abe Lincoln imposed. No, listen,
By
mean,
the way, I'm not going. This has nothing to do with what I'm telling you.
Yeah, no, I know.
You pulled up a different story. I'm not going to this. But what percent are you willing to pay today?
I am not a high tax guy. Okay.
What's high tax?
High tax. I mean, listen. I don't want to get too much into my personal finances, but like I don't like that.
I'm not auditing you, bro.
I don't
just
like
asking
that.
You a simple question.
I don't like that close to half of my income is going to taxes.
You don't like that?
I think it's too high. I think it's too high.
So what do you think is reasonable?
Oh man, does it include healthcare in college or not?
I don't know.
Yeah,
just
I mean,
give a number though.
I
say it doesn't.
I
say it
think
doesn't. That's
No
on you.
healthcare, no college.
No healthcare, no college.
Status
What
quo.
we have today.
I would love to be in the 31 total.
Just so you know,
I don't
we're
know.
on the same page there.
Yeah.
Okay. So for me, the difference is the following.
Yeah.
One time I'm doing a podcast. I don't know who I'm doing a podcast with. Anyways, this was like a year and a half ago.
Sounds explosive.
And then no, it wasn't explosive. Actually, you know what I like about podcasts like this?
Yeah.
It makes me go research a topic. I'll go, so one time we did a podcast about taxes. And how taxes at one point 90%. It was 90% taxes, and it was like for a long time.
Ronald
This is,
Reagan.
Ronald
He
Reagan.
wouldn't do more
You
than
know,
2
how
movies a
Hollywood
year.
was. This
Yeah.
is what they're doing. This is what it was like.
So you're talking about a 90% marginal on the very top incomes under Eisenhower,
Correct.
right?
Can,
Okay,
I,
just
can
make-
I make my point without you freaking intellects with degrees to interrupt this freaking high school graduate?
See, that's
guy.
ad hominem.
Okay. All right. So let me go back to this with these two Jews bullying me right now. So we're talking about taxes.
Yeah.
Okay. So let me go find out what's going on with taxes here
figure
and
it
the
out.
history of it. Okay. So we send our research team, and I said, send me anything you can on taxes. You can assume this was like a very exciting 2 weeks of my life. Just studying taxes. It was awesome. It's a
Yep.
great experience. I can only imagine what it's like to want to be an accountant. It's got to be like a, fascinating experience.
High suicide rate among
Suicide,
accountants,
yeah. So you know what happened? The one data that came about on when taxes got started, the history of tax. You know the whole story, what year it is, all that. I'm not going through that part. But I wanted to find out because a lot of people on the left say you can't compare governments to companies to, families.
You
right?
can. It just might not be useful.
But meaning it's not the same thing. You can't do that financially, all this other stuff.
Yeah.
So you see the Lincoln thing that, story pops up where, back in 1861, this guy goes up and says, hey, U.S., we kind of need some money.
Yeah.
This war was so expensive for us. We're going to have to tax everybody 6%.
Yep.
But I promise you, when we pay it off, we'll stop taxes. Do you know what happened?
Well,
After they paid it off?
the taxes didn't end.
No, it ended.
Oh, they did end.
Let me
Which
read it
one
to you.
Are you
Can you
talking
pull
about
this
the
up?
3% or the 6%?
No, so watch this here.
Okay.
On August 5th, 1861, Lincoln imposed the first federal income tax by signing the Revenue Act strapped for cash, which the government is kind of like, they don't have cash. They're in
3%.
debt. Yeah,
Okay.
so they need cash just like a corporation or a family. We don't have cash, so we need some debt.
Yep.
With which to pursue the Civil War, Lincoln and Congress agreed to impose a 3% tax on annual incomes over $800. As early as 1861, Lincoln had began to take stock of the federal government's ability to wage war against the South. He sent letters to cabinet members Edward Bates, Gideon Wells, and Salmon Chase requesting their opinions as to whether or not the president had the constitutional authority to collect duties. According to documents housed and interpreted by Library of Congress, Lincoln was particularly concerned about maintaining federal authority over collecting revenue from ports along the southeastern seaboard, which he worried might fall under the control of Confederacy. The Revenue Act language, Okay. According to the U.S. Treasury Department, the comparable minimum tax income in 2003, after adjustment for inflation, would have been around $16,000. Congress repealed Lincoln's tax law in 1871, which means there was no more taxes. But it came back up, obviously, in 1909. So this is an example of a story where we need some money. Let's go to the people. The people say, listen, here's some money, but I hope this stops. It's going to stop. So the moment we allow the government to use this power too much, they've abused it.
Okay.
And for me, my only argument is, if I have to choose between giving you $1 million, that's going to sound crazy, okay? I hope this doesn't get your head too big and you get too confident here.
Please.
If I give you $1 million or if I give $1 million to the government, I'm willing to bet you're probably going to create, a better climate with $1 million than the government would. And if I have the choice to give $1 million or $1 billion to creators, job creators, small business owners on what they can do as a source of investment, versus giving that money to the government, if there was a FICA score if there was a FICA score, I don't know what your FICA score is, but you know the range. 400,
Very high.
Okay,
Extremely high.
400 to 820, give or take. That's
Yeah,
the
yeah,
number
yeah.
where it's at. If we had to give a FICA score to the U.S. government,
Yep.
what do you think their FICA score would be today? Yeah, but he needs polls.
Give me the polling on that. No, listen here. I mean, what you're saying is super interesting.
Do you know the point I'm making now?
Yeah,
Because I want to be clear.
do. No, it's a clear point. And here's one of the things that I think I'm guessing we would probably agree on, which is when you think about the way that we organize society, this isn't politics. This is just like sociology, philosophy, kind of like reality. Once you get a group of people bigger than about 150 people, okay? If you want that to be run in some way that works, what we might define as works, you have to start introducing some level of centralization. That doesn't mean with 150 people, you need the tax system and everything that we have right now. But it's just kind of like a reality of organizing societies, that as societies grow from 150 people, and think about it, 330 million people now in the US, 8 billion people in the country, the idea that you have, which is, I'll just pick some people to give $1 million to instead of the government. It's that it just doesn't work.
That's it.
Some things have to be centralized.
I'm having fun with you, buddy, when I'm telling you that. But the point I'm trying to make
But
to you
the
is
idea
the
is an
following.
interesting one.
No, but the
It's
point
not,
I'm,
okay.
The point, no, it isn't interesting. The point I'm trying to make to you is that's how the U.S. government was ran.
Yeah.
The country you and I are living in,
Yes.
it was ran that way. Guys, we don't have money. We go to the people. I promise you, once we pay this off, we're going to stop taxing you.
Yeah.
And we accepted it, no taxation. So we accept, we're like totally fine with this. We're game with this. And then now it's pure abuse. We don't have a choice now like we did back then.
Yep.
It was ran like a company. It was ran like a family, having their finances in order. Today, America's FICA score is in the 400s. You know, in the 400s, what you should be able to finance? Nothing.
I don't know. 60% down, 30% for
Oh,
cars.
it's at 400. It should be 100% down.
But so what would you want? So you said you were with me on like low 30s for taxes.
I am.
Right? Okay,
Yeah.
yeah. So really, it sounds like the issue is more.
I would want a flat tax. And what I'm saying, I would want a flat tax, meaning I'd like to go somewhere between 10 or 15 to 33. And a time to go to 30.
That's not flat, is it?
I get that. But what I'm saying is if America, like right now, we need to pay off debt, guess what?
Yep.
Tax me 33.
Okay.
But let's gradually pay some of the stuff off. I would like for them to say, we're going to go off a budget of 25% or 20%. The 13%, every year we're going to pay off the debt. Okay? But here's a problem.
Yes.
You know why that'll never happen?
Well, there's a lot of reasons. I mean, I don't know.
I'll give you my reason why.
Because Congress people will never win on
never
that
get
type
reelected.
of
So
agenda.
If we have no term limits, these guys are going to play whatever games to.
You're for term limits.
Are you kidding?
Oh, me too. Absolutely.
Oh, you kidding me? Yeah, absolutely.
Guys, we just found some common ground with David
No.
Pakman and Patrick Bet David. Term limits on the agenda.
My challenge isn't my challenge is we're giving money to people that have proven they have no clue what to do with it and the debt keeps climbing.
Now, when it comes to like social safety net, right? Can I tell you my view on this stuff and you tell me if you agree, right? I moved to the US as an immigrant. Okay. I had the benefit, if my parents had to pay for my initial schooling, like if they had to pay out of pocket for elementary school or whatever the case may be, my mom wasn't working at the time, my dad was just starting a job where he didn't make a lot of money. They couldn't have afforded if that public school said, we're going to charge you, right? So I immediately got the benefit of that. Follow along, right? I got the benefit of police protection and then eventually all these different things, contracts. So when I started my show, Intellectual Property. So the way I see it is I've been extraordinarily fortunate to be able to build my business and get to where I am thanks to a whole bunch of things that everybody paid for through taxes. So my view now is but let me finish up. I'm also okay. Like I recognize, I've got these great employees. Many of them had public school educations and they have certain protections when it comes to safety in the work, all these different things.
You should be able to do all that with no more than 30%.
No, I'm not even getting to 30.
Yeah.
But so I feel it's almost like a patriotic thing where if taxes are properly set and being spent on the right things, I think now my success, which only exists because of previous taxpayers through all those programs I mentioned, it should go to help other people who don't have enough.
That's the wrong mindset, in my opinion.
Okay.
And let me tell you why I think it's the wrong
Please,
mindset.
tell
Because, okay, you ever had a job?
Have I ever had a job?
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
No, you don't have a job right now. You're a business owner. Have you had a job?
Oh, yeah,
working
yeah.
for a corporation?
Yeah.
Okay. Were you there for 5 years? Like, did you work for a company for 5 years?
Yeah, I mean, this is kind of funny, but I worked for the now defunct retailer Circuit City for 5 years.
Really?
Yeah, selling extended service
They pay
plans.
very well, but I don't know when you worked, but
In
they
the
were paying
commission
very
era,
well in the commission
I
era.
got laid off when they went from commission to hourly.
Yeah.
The people who were making too many commissions,
Yeah.
they didn't want to pay us hourly. They laid us off.
Check this out. Okay, so let me see if what year was it you were working at Circuit City?
It ended in 2003, so it would have
That's
been like
the era.
Yeah.
By the way, can you tell everybody how much a good salesperson at Circuit City was making?
Well,
If you remember, because I had
I'm willing to say this. I worked part-time because I was like starting college.
check this out.
30 hours a week.
Yeah.
And I was making $75,000.
That's insane.
Yeah.
At Circuit City.
Yeah.
Okay.
They realized it was insane, and they're like, "We're not paying these people
But that's
anymore."
bullshit, though. That's bullshit, though, because that's why they went out of business.
Right. Oh,
the
absolutely.
model was working.
Yes.
You guys were doing your
Best
part.
Buy came up,
Dude,
and then Best Buy's paying $7 an hour.
But
How are you gonna-
you're about to validate my point. So check this out. This is a perfect example here. The perfect example is here.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, you know how you go to a funeral and everybody's mourning, and maybe you don't know the person, but you're going because it's somebody you don't have a relation, like it's in-law or somebody like that.
Sure.
But just the pain on everybody's face, you feel it, right?
Yes.
So for me, when I hear a company going out of business,
Right.
breaks my heart, especially a company that's been on for a long time.
Yep.
Because to start a company is very hard, very, very hard to start a company. To make it last past 5 years, super hard.
Right.
10, 20, 30 years. And then create hundreds, if not thousands of jobs, it's not easy to do. Somebody and a group of people had to sacrifice a lot, right? Okay, so what you're saying is the following.
Yeah.
Hear me out.
Okay.
So the people who started Circuit City,
Yep.
okay, those who started Circuit City, those who paved the way before you, and they came and they crushed it, and now there's new management, and now because the people before you paved the way, you should accept lower salary to give back to the people that paved the way before. But it's not the people before that paved the way. It's the people today that are running Circuit City. You're actually not giving back to the people that paved the way. You're giving it to the idiots that are running Circuit City today. That's what's going on in America today. Meaning, you and I love America. I lived in Iran 10 years. I lived in Germany 2 years. I was in the military. And I come from a family politically on complete opposite sides, but I love this place. It's an amazing country. My responsibility on how I can contribute to society isn't through paying taxes. It's through creating jobs. It's through, when I pay my taxes, I paid a lot of taxes this year. A lot of taxes this year. Last year was a lot of taxes. I've been paying a lot of taxes, period. So, but for me, when I pay the taxes and I ask, where did that thing go to? Okay. What happened with that? What are they doing with that? If they're doing such a great job with it, why does the debt keep going higher? Why are we, keep not seeing any kind of return? Things are still same thing. Both of them are now asking to raise more money. Oh, it's only the left, the Democrats that just want to go. No, that's not. It's both of these sides who are part of the same camp. Another 1.9 trillion, another 2 trillion, another 2.7 trillion. I'm not for it.
Okay.
So all I'm saying to you is the same way the Circuit City folks ruined a great job you had making 75 grand, you're working 30 hours a week.
Yep.
They came, the new management decided to change the compensation structure that was working. That's the perfect example of how Circuit City went out of business. Same thing that a lot of politicians are doing today.
Yeah, it doesn't seem at all analogous to me, but I love talking about selling extended service plans, so we can stay on Circuit City if you want. But in all seriousness,
It doesn't seem analogous to you.
it doesn't really seem
Oh,
analogous
really? So
to
let me ask you a question. Why did Circuit City go out of business?
Well, let's see. I'm thinking back now. They went out of business because when they switched people from commission to hourly, they got rid of the people that were doing really well because they didn't want to pay us the hourly equivalent.
Oh, wow. So they got rid of the entrepreneurs. They got rid of the... No, so it's not analogous at all. They got rid of the people that are self-motivated people. Got it. So that is actually the perfect example. Because they changed the comp plan. They increased taxes for the people that were working. That's not at all analogous.
They didn't increase taxes. They just laid me off.
Did the $75,000 people make $75,000 again after they changed the comp? No, they did not.
At a different job.
Not at Circuit City.
Not at Circuit City.
You're laughing
Circuit
because you
City-
see the point. They
Circuit
left
City-
to a different place.
Here's the
But
thing.
then you got a new job and started making more money.
But the point is, this is why people
See,
leave
this is-
California.
I was just going to say, isn't that exactly analogous to
Exactly
people getting
what's
the hell
going
out of
on.
New York and California
That's
instead
called-
of high tax states to come to low tax states?
So, I mean, we can talk about high and low tax states. The effective tax rate, especially if you own cars and homes in a lot of places,
Stay on
ends up
Circuit
being
City.
very close.
Stay on Circuit City.
let's get off of Circuit City.
No, I don't want to get off of Circuit City. Stay on this point because that is the point, though. David, that's the point.
But I'm trying to have a different conversation.
I'm sure you are. I'm trying to stay on this.
But not because it's a more advantageous conversation.
Because you're saying it's not analogous.
What I just want to know from you is, I get it with the company. Circuit City deserved to go out of business, and it was allowed to go out of business, and that was great. I'm with you because they made a terrible business decision. I'm completely with you. What I'm asking you is, on a human level, in a country as rich as the United States, 330 million people, all these different things. I'm not saying no one should be rich. I'm not saying taxes should be 60%. I'm not saying anything. I'm just saying for the little comparatively that it would take just to make sure that there's no hungry kids, for example. The little thing. You don't have to go to the ER when you have a problem. Isn't that worth it to you?
Isolate this. We can go to that. Stay on this issue. Don't digress. Stay on this issue. By the way, just out of curiosity, who's your guy? Like who do you look up to? What comedian guy, your style do you look up to? I just wrote a name down because you remind me of him.
I don't know.
You sure? You don't have heroes? You don't have comedians you like?
No.
David, you got someone you like.
I'm just not.
This guy doesn't lend money to people. He doesn't lend people their cars, and he doesn't have anybody
that he'll... You don't have a celebrity,
you didn't have
anybody, a politician.
Who do I like?
You didn't have anybody you watch, like a Bill Maher, guys like that used to, I like this guy's style.
Like, I'm a big Bill Maher guy. I love Chappelle.
No, none of that.
I mean, I casually would watch Bill Maher, but I mean...
Are you a Jon Stewart guy, or are you a,
I would watch Jon Stewart a little bit.
So let's go back to Circuit City.
Okay.
Forget I digress. That's my fault.
I want to know what your name is.
Here was my technique for selling the service plan.
Yeah.
Do you want to know that? No. Okay.
You're staying on Circuit City?
He's digressing.
Listen, we can stay on Circuit.
But do you know why I'm staying on this topic?
No.
Okay. let me. This is.
There's a metaphor here. I promise you.
In the business world, okay, when a guy or a person leaves a company,
yes,
they leave for a reason. Okay. In the sales industry, many times they leave because comp changed. Okay.
Yep.
So what happens with comp? This is what typically happens with comp to our salespeople. A guy sits there. This is 2003. You said that's what 20.
I believe so.
Holy shit! You're making 75 at 18.
Yeah.
Okay, so check this out.
I got in this. You want to really know a crazy story?
That's why I love Circuit City stories.
I was audited because it wasn't plausible that I was making that much, and so a guy showed up, an investigator with a recorder, and they're like, so. Where exactly did you make this? It was a crazy thing. My mom sat with me. I was like, Mom, I don't know what's going on. I'm just selling computers.
Dude, I know a lot about the Circuit City folks because I recruit a lot of Circuit City folks after that happened to the insurance industry.
I remember that happening.
But this is why. Well, here's the part though, because you guys were sick. Circuit City sales training was awesome. Same was Bally Total Fitness. By the way, I'm a Bally's guy.
Oh, is that right?
So Circuit City is sitting there and they're saying, who the hell is this Pakman guy we're paying 75 grand a year, working 30 hours a week, and he's 18?
Right.
He shouldn't get paid that.
Correct.
We should only pay him $6 an hour.
Yes.
There's no way this guy's worth it. We're overpaying him. Some idiot at the top said what? We're overpaying him.
Yeah.
Okay. So they came up with this idea that let's fire these guys that have charm, charisma, sarcastic, witty. People like him. They're selling. Awesome. Who cares if he makes 75? They flipped it on him.
Yep.
That happened to me. When I was when I was 21, I had just gotten out of the military. So people at Bally's at one point were making 180, 200 grand a year. In the 80s, in the 90s, salespeople. By the way, Circuit City was paying 180, 200 a year to salespeople. Circuit City was killing it.
There was like one guy making that much.
Well, one guy per place.
In Connecticut. No. There was no one in our store making that much.
Well, maybe not your store, but there's a lot of guys that were making money at Circuit. If you're 30 years old making 75, there were plenty of guys that were making money.
I was 18 years old.
I'm sorry, 18 years old making 75.
Yeah.
A lot of people were making money at Circuit City doing sales. So here's the point.
Please.
Guy changes the comp.
Yep.
He lost you. Okay? You get fired. You go elsewhere. You do other things.
Yep.
Did a lot of other people leave?
Well, anybody making under 10 an hour in commissions was too bad of a salesperson. They got rid of them. Anybody making over 20 an hour, there were 2 people in our store. I was one of them. They got rid of us. So they only kept those 10 to 20.
So
they kept the most average
That's why
people.
Socialism doesn't work.
Well, no, socialism would have been keeping the under 10.
Socialism doesn't work.
Socialism would have been keeping the under 10.
Oh, now you want to flip it, don't you?
No.
You're shrewd.
But think about that.
Dude,
socialism would be you got to keep the ones earning under 10.
No, actually it's not.
Socialism
is social
average. That's insane. This is crazy. This is a great conversation about things completely disconnected from political politics.
100% connected.
But I love the conversation.
They're 100% connected is what they are. They're 100% connected. Because it's like saying if you tax people less, hey, wait a minute. Elon's making too much money. These billionaires are getting too rich. These millionaires are getting too rich. This is not good. We need wealth tax. We need this. We need that. No way we should be doing this. Hey, you know, when Elon's saying something in whatever it was in California, and the mayor responded back, and he says, okay, noted. Boom. I don't know if you remember this.
No.
Do you remember when the mayor or the councilman
it was in San Francisco or Silicon Valley? We should do away with them. He's like, all right, got it.
We should do away with Tesla, and they're this, and Elon is this.
Like,
and he just tweets back and says, noted. Moves to Austin. Great. Guess what? Austin got Elon. A lot of people, Florida got a lot of great talent. Texas got a lot of talent. People leave when you change comp plans. I'm sitting here giving you the example of where taxes are good. 33. We're on the same page.
Okay.
I'm willing to go 33. You're saying 30, 31, which you're a little greedy. I got to tell you.
Well,
you're a greedy socialist.
This is so. First of all, come on. Yeah, okay. But are you an Elon fanboy?
Not as much as you're a Joe Biden fanboy.
No,
you're a diehard Biden guy.
I would be interested, actually.
If I would have known, I would have gotten Joe Biden.
I'm not a diehard Biden fan.
Oh, it's obvious. You love. Seriously?
No,
what's
now
why
are
is
we
it
being serious now?
on your podcast said? Why do you have a painting of Biden in the back?
Oh, okay. So all right.
Okay, go ahead. Yeah.
What is your because I was a relatively early Tesla investor, and I still drive a Tesla. I think it's going to be my last one. I've sold the shares. Where are you on Elon? Because a couple people wrote to me. They're like, "Oh, Patrick's a fanboy of Elon
or on Tesla."
Either.
Okay, so can I take a sip?
Yeah, is that an energy drink now?
It is owned by Tesla, by the way. It's Elon's drink. So, no, it's not. I don't.
But by the way, while he's drinking this, why are you done with Tesla? Why is this your last Tesla?
The reason,
and are you a not Elon Musk fanboy? Are you anti-Elon?
I have no emotional thought whatever about Elon. Okay, so here was my thought.
Okay.
When I got the Tesla shares in 2015, I thought electric's coming, early mover, range and charging network are the things that matter. Mm-hmm. This is going to set them up.
Yeah.
It's going to be crazy. So I bought the shares. Eventually, I got one of the cars. I was like, this is fantastic.
When did you buy shares?
When?
2015.
2016, February 2016, I think it was. So I get the car. I'm like, unbelievable range, fantastic. The charging network, all this stuff. The build quality kind of sucks. Everything's rattling. There's things that are held together, it seems to be by tape. But that's okay. I get it. They haven't been building cars very long. It's gonna improve. It's gonna improve. Got the second Tesla. Better build quality. Still, it's the same issue 4 times now. Every time, it's literally something that has to be ratcheted, has to be taken apart. Now, the other companies let's be honest, Audi builds better cars than Tesla. They've been doing it for 100 years. Yeah. They don't rattle, etc. They're losing the charging network advantage slowly, partially thanks to the Inflation Reduction Act and the high-speed charging.
Here we go. Spokesperson for Biden. Go ahead, keep going.
And also the range, there's more and more cars now that are matching the range. So I think the time, that first mover advantage is diminishing drastically.
So David, if somebody didn't know either one of us and they had to poll to say who's a Elon fanboy, it would be you.
Why?
Here's why.
You're against all of it.
Can I answer? Bro, why are you such a bully? Let me answer, man. 1, I've never owned a Tesla.
Okay.
2, I don't own Tesla stock. I've never bought Tesla stock.
Okay.
Okay, because I thought it was always overpriced.
Wow.
Okay. But here's what I will tell you.
Please.
As a jockey, I'm a fan of the jockey. Him being the jockey. The business, I thought Tesla, too many people who were fanboys who thought that it's just because it's him, it's going to kill it. It's down 85% for the year.
Good
By
thing
the way,
I sold.
But the point is, it's at the right number right now.
Probably.
It's around the number it should be, give or take. Maybe it's still not at the number it needs to be.
Yep.
But long, if it's a long investment, I think it's a good long investment. I think a lot of people got killed last year. By the way, a lot of people made money last year as well. Citadel, Ken Griffin made $16 billion last year. You don't make $16 billion during a flat economy or even slightly down. You make it because you were shorting certain stocks. And some of the famous stocks to short last year, hence the company and the boy you love the most, your guy Elon Musk. Okay,
he's not my guy.
Well, listen,
what
on paper,
what he's done,
you're a fanboy.
I'm out of the stock, and I'm getting out of the car.
So you're an ex-fanboy is what you are. It's okay. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that.
The product had a specific advantage.
I've never been a fan of the product. I've never been a fan of the product. I've never been one that has gone. And by the way, one of my best friends, every time he named his son Elon.
Wow. Okay,
That's qualified. Okay, he owns Teslas, stocks, all of it.
Yeah.
Total fan of that stuff. I'm not that camp.
Yeah.
What I do like is the following. Just so you know, when you leave this place, you best say thank you to Elon.
Okay.
You owe him a thanks. Okay. A big thanks. Have you enjoyed the session we've had today together?
Yeah.
Is this a good day for you?
Yeah, I mean, listen, I don't know that. I think we talked past each other a lot.
Okay.
And things that are not actually disagreements were zoomed in on. And I think we would actually get along on 80% of stuff if the conversation was not for television, potentially.
Did you watch Kyle's show when Kyle and I were together or no?
I watched some of it.
Okay, you know how much fun I had with Kyle?
No.
Just the same way I had a lot of fun with you.
I have no idea how much fun.
By the way, if you told me you are willing to come back next month, you're on next month.
Okay.
I enjoyed this. So you don't, one thing you need to know with
you
me.
should I don't look at comments anymore.
Yeah.
The comments on this from your audience are going to be brutal. I'm going to need a new therapist.
I actually think they like you a lot as well.
Okay.
Trust me. And here's why though with our audience. The reason with our audience
Yep.
is because we like people like that to come. We don't want, like, by the way, you know who's going to be on Thursday? You ready for this one?
I don't know.
Like the complete opposite of you.
Let me guess. It's going to be Ben Shapiro. Is it?
Worse. James O'Keefe is going to be on Thursday
Who's that?
from Veritas.
Project Veritas.
Oh my God.
Yeah, so he's going to be on.
God.
But if I'm sure you guys would like to have lunch together and have a good time together.
I'll still be here. I'll swing by.
So,
yeah.
but here's the point. Here's the
Maybe we said something.
the point I want to make to you is on the topic of differences and all.
You said he was going to have to thank Elon for something.
Yeah, because
yeah.
without Elon, you and I wouldn't have tweeted each other. He's running Twitter right now.
What are you talking about? We tweeted each other last year.
I know we did, but
Oh.
you know, again, from
What does that have to do with Elon?
it's a connection we have through Twitter that he's running now.
He's
There's
the
a
CEO
form
of
of a
Twitter.
connection.
A year ago, it had nothing to
Doesn't
do with
matter,
him.
man. I'm giving this guy
Okay.
credit because
See,
you and
it's
That's a
fanboy
fanboy.
to find a reason to thank Elon for something
I'm
from a
looking.
year.
Listen, I have a
Let's do a
thankful
poll right
attitude.
now.
I'd like to find reasons to be thankful for
fair.
people.
Rob, do a poll
Yeah.
right now. Who is a bigger Elon Musk
Dude,
fanboy?
there
David
is no
Pakman
way.
Or Patrick
but if you want to say like in an area that I believe in what he's going to do as a jockey,
Okay.
yeah, I believe in him as a jockey. So if I'm on a long anything, I'm on a long what he's going to be doing investment.
By the way, I really appreciate the metaphor that you're using right now of the horse versus the jockey. The horse
Yeah.
in this instance is
He's
the company
jockey.
of Tesla.
I'm a believer of the
That's
jockey.
He's
an
riding the
analogy
horse.
I agree with. That's an accurate
Guys,
analogy.
we are finding common
It's
ground
funny.
here in PBD Podcast.
No, the
with David
other
Pakman. This
analogy
is
of
happening.
Circuit City you didn't believe in is
The Circuit City did have a little.
analogous. Are you
I
kidding
think
me?
only at the
Metaphorical
most superficial
speaking.
level. I think if we dove deeper, it falls.
Come on, bro. That's
There
like
was some- there was some-
you
there was some
you
substance there.
dropped like it's as if I wanted to say it, but you said it. They got rid of the top guys and the bottom guys to make the middle guys happy. That's socialism.
It's not.
It's social.
They do.
He's smile on your
Socialism
face.
does something for the
And
bottom.
an
It's
hour and a half
fundamentally not
later,
socialism.
saying he's not a socialist, folks. He's defending socialism. Okay,
But
so
the reality is, Circuit City did shut
you know
down.
what would
They
be a
did
cool
close.
shirt? Here would be a cool shirt. Here's what would be a cool shirt. Okay?
Oh, wait for it.
Can you pull up this book called First Rate Madness? Pull up the book to cover. I have an idea. I have an idea for our friend here.
I've got a book that I'm working on, so maybe I could take this and this will be the cover. Let's see.
I don't know if you want to use this cover, but so pull up that. You see that cover right there, First Rate Madness?
Yeah.
Part of it is Kennedy, okay?
Yeah.
Part of it is Lincoln.
in the upper
and
right?
the other one is, I don't know who the bottom left one is. Could be Jackson because they talk about him a lot.
It's not Sinatra?
Are you being sarcastic?
No, I'm kidding. Yeah.
Okay. No, I think we should get a picture like that made, and I'll tweet it out today just because I like you. I think it should be half the face should be Biden.
Okay.
The other quarter should be Bernie, and the last quarter should be Elon Musk as a fanboy for him. And I'm going to say, David, this art was by the way, can you tell our graphic design team? I'm sure he's going to talk shit all day today. We're going to have a good time. Like, that's a gift from me to you.
I don't know what we're talking about, but it sounds interesting.
Yeah.
What was the name you wrote down describing David?
No,
Pakman?
he's John Stewart. This guy's talented. I like it. I like
Stewart.
it. Yeah,
He kind of does
very
look like
talented.
John Stewart. You've
I
never heard
believe
that
Very
before,
talented.
Well,
David?
people say when we're talking about Jews who are 5'8", it's and
You are
talk
the
about
goat.
politics.
No, I'm actually not going there at all. I'm going
Okay.
purely talent.
Okay.
Your the witty, the poking, the sarcasm, you have it. You have that talent. You can't teach that. You either have it or you don't have it. You have it.
I appreciate that.
You really are very.
Pull up a picture of John Stewart, by the way. You did. There is sort of an
I
uncanny
get Joseph
blondish
Gordon-Levitt
res-
more.
Yeah.
All right, let's. I mean, come
Oh
on.
my God.
Look, young Jon Stewart here.
Is that a new picture? Oh, that's new. Okay.
That's a mugshot.
Can I get a young- young Jon Stewart?
Why would they put that picture on his Wikipedia? He's got to have better pictures than
No, when he was young, he was way harder than
Better pictures than
No, when he was young, he was way harder than
Oh,
you,
look at
Dave.
that.
I'm sorry.
Oh.
Yeah, there you go.
You have a blonder version of him.
He has
There's a little
way
bit.
better hair, I think, but I
You
don't
got
know.
good hair too.
Okay,
but-
we got 8 minutes here.
Wait,
Question-
but so you're not Bet
Joseph
David sounds like
Gordon-Levitt?
it could be a Jewish last name.
Assyrian.
Assyrian. Okay.
So Assyrian
Ben.
bet, like
Ben
bet,
David.
Beta is house. Bet David.
Got it.
Ben is son of.
Yes, in Hebrew.
I speak Aramaic as well. Fluently.
Really?
Yeah.
No, you're way more of a young Jon Stewart.
Sounds
than,
hard to believe.
Joseph Gordon-Levitt, my friend.
Hard to believe. So, for example, when I watch Passion of the Christ,
Yeah.
I actually can understand what they're saying to each other. Literally.
I didn't watch it, and even if I watched it, I assure you I would not have understood it.
Yeah. Okay, so last thoughts here before we wrap up. We got 7 minutes. You pick your topic. What do you want to do? If you don't, I have a topic for you. But
Okay. You're in charge.
So DeSantis, what's going to happen here? What are your thoughts? Do you think it's going to be ugly? Are you from the school of thought that there's going to be a civil war? It's already starting. You heard what Trump said yesterday. Yes. Loyalty. I'm about loyalty. Okay, give us your thoughts.
I do think so. I think Trump is furious. There have been reports for 6-7 months that DeSantis should have said, I would consider it if Trump doesn't run. And DeSantis has not said that. And you're supposed to say that. That's the loyalty test. I do. So selfishly in 2 ways, I hope it's an absolute disaster. One, I think it'll make it less likely either of them win if they have a year during which they're just going crazy at each other. And number 2, I think it would be hilarious because honestly, either one could end up on top. I know that there's this idea among some of my colleagues that DeSantis is similar to Trump, but smarter, better spoken, less gaffe prone, all these things. Trump is really good with the nicknames and the making fun of people and stuff. If DeSantis declares and they're actually running a national campaign, not Florida, but a national campaign, I would not understate the possibility of Trump really doing to DeSantis what he did to little Marco, calling Ted Cruz's wife ugly, this sort of stuff. It could get ugly, and it's not clear DeSantis will get the best of it.
Yeah, I don't know if I disagree. It's a... Okay, so here's a question for you. You're on the inside strategy team for Trump. Okay. You're on the inside strategy team for DeSantis.
Yeah.
What are you telling them? I know you're going to say Trump's not going to hear anything you say anyway. But what are you saying? What would you say is the strategy for if you're like, hey, to win, we got to do X, Y, Z? What would you say?
I think I am terrible on political strategy, but one of the if I had been advising Trump, I would have said, don't announce in November, 5 days after a midterm election. I would not have done that. If I'm DeSantis's team, I would say, listen, you're not even running, and in some polls, you're defeating Trump. I would wait, continue to allow Trump to be furious, continue to allow Trump to, he had this low energy rally in South Carolina. Nobody went. He was sweating and it was bright orange. It was just horrible. Keep letting Trump do this stuff where he just looks silly. And then when you finally do announce, really think about it and do it in a way where you actually launch a formidable campaign. Instead of jumping in now and getting involved in this stuff, I wouldn't do it.
Very interesting feedback. Okay. Question, do you have a book you're promoting? Is there anything you're promoting?
It's being written still, so I don't have it to promote.
So what would you like us to drive to? Your YouTube channel or Twitter?
I would love it if people, Twitter, oh God, no. I would love it if people went to my YouTube channel and subscribed. That would be unbelievable.
Can we put the link in chat, description, all of it? And David, you have to know, I can't wait to have you the next time around.
I can't wait
and
to
have
be
different
back.
kind of conversation because I think the next one's going to be better than this one because now we kind of have an idea.
Now we know each other, and I can come prepared. We can talk energy drinks, cigars, and supplements.
Yeah. Yesterday we're like, so what are we going to talk about tomorrow? I said, listen, this guy's an expert on private equity. We're going to talk venture capital.
Yep.
And we're talking GPT is what we're going to talk about with him. I was like, what are you talking about? This guy's not that guy. I said, anyways.
Oh, the other David Pakman.
No, I'm talking about you. We were joking about it yesterday.
Because there is a David Pakman.
Is there another David
Pakman?
Pakman?
I know there is. I know there is.
Well, we must take him down.
Did you think he was showing up today?
No,
God.
he's
Oh,
joking.
kidding me.
God.
I know it's
Because
you.
I've been invited to Bitcoin conferences, and I'm like, I know you're looking for the other guy. I should accept this.
You should have accepted it. Go on stage and say, let me tell you about your fanboy Elon Musk and just call everybody up.
Coins
I told Pat, I don't know if you're joking right now, but we're going to spend 2 hours talking about politics, Trump, socialism, Bernie, Biden.
Yeah.
And I was proven correct.
Yes, you were.
By the way, shout out to Circuit City for making you the man you are today.
Thank you. Yeah. No, in all seriousness, I talk with my Circuit City colleagues. It threw me at age 16 when I started, 15, into a situation where people would come in, all sorts of different types of people. I immediately have to build rapport. I immediately have to figure out how to build a relationship, get them to trust me, etc. How to talk, think on my feet. It was invaluable, even in what I'm doing today. It was just an unbelievable thing. And it ended, sadly, with, as we know, they fired the top people.
Well, gang, if you enjoyed today's podcast and you want us to bring our buddy here back, give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel, and share this. I think the audience wins today. Then when there's banter, there's disagreements, there's arguments, you know, you sit there and you're like, I like what he said, I agree with him. Pat got this wrong, he got this wrong, whatever. You win, you got the argument, we just had a conversation together.
We're all winners.
Have a great day, everybody. We'll do this again on Thursday. You're all winners, like he said. All winners. Whether you're at the bottom, the top, or the middle, you're all winners. Take care. Bye-bye.
Everyone
Bye-bye.
gets a trophy. Yeah, exactly.